welcome again to the 50th anniversary of the Helsinki Comic Festival, an event in which Spain is the guest country. First at all, I want to thank the help and support provided by the Finnish Comic Society, the organization behind all this comic festival, the Spanish Embassy in Finland, and the Foundation from the Promotion and Study of the Narrative and Image. Thanks to the commitment of all of them, this event has been made a reality. Today, we will meet with Alberto Madrigal. He born in Spain, but someone like me, he decided to move. In that case, he moved to Berlin in 2007. And I used different CV to write this. He began to work freelance in illustration. And because he always wanted to be a comic book artist, at last in 2013, he published his first comic book, first in Italian, Un Lavoro, Vero, published by BAO Publishing. In Spain was Norma Editorial, and Comic published in English in 2015. After that, he continued to work in different areas, but he really wanted to be a comic book artist. His second book was, I know the number, the second was Va tutto bene, in my language Todo va bien. The third was Berlin 2.0, in that case written by Mathilde Ramadier and published by Futuropolis in France and Norma Editorial in Spain. And his last job is Pijama Computer Biscotti, or Pijama Portatil Galletas. This is the cover of the Spanish version from Norma Editorial, when he tried to explain how difficult it is to be a normal person in this dystopic world. First at all, thank you very much to accept my invitation. I told you the first time we met with this system, the idea of this event, that especially the invite Spain like a guest country in the Helsinki Comic Festival in the beginning, and now was to promote and to show to the people in Finland how is the Spanish market, especially from people like you, that you born later than me, and you are the new generation that do your job, in your case, outside Spain. But even you put a lot of example at how is to live in Germany, if you compare with Spain. But at the last is for one guy that born in Spain or in Finland or in Germany, at the last is always the same. We have the same problems, we do the same mistake, and we try to survive in the middle of this, especially inside the pandemic situation. But all these jobs are before the pandemic situation. But when you read in that case, I read Un Trabajo de Verdad and Pijama Portatil Galletas yesterday and today again, because I want to read 2-3 times before I do this kind of things. And I suppose for a Finnish, even for a Finnish teenager, but from someone between 18 to 35 years here in Finland, if someone read both of these comic book or graphic novel or whatever you want to name it, it's easy to understand, because all the people in actual world have the same feeling. My first question is, because I want to ask, the translation of your first books, Un Trabajo de Verdad, in English is a real word. My question is, now after 4 books in the market, and I suppose you are working in another, or maybe in 1 or 2 in the same times, the people around you really believe you have actually a real word, or the people don't believe that because you are a comic book artist, you don't have a real word, a real, in that case, a real job?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you. I'm very happy to be here. And yeah, no, the people now they maybe because I answer in another way. I'm not just like at the beginning. Maybe I was more like I didn't want it to speak too much about that because it wasn't published yet, and now it's easier for me because it's something normal in my life, no? So people usually say, "Oh, that's cool, that's cool." So tell me about that. So yeah, it's different from some years ago. It's also true that in the last 10 years, maybe, or yeah, 10 years, the world with the graphic novel and the comic books change a lot because they arrive, at least in Italy and in Spain, they arrive to people who didn't read comics before, and you can find them on the on the bookstores, and before you could find them only in the comic stores. So that was also very helpful. Yeah,
It's true. This is something fortunately is changed a lot in Spain. The only problem in Spain is is to compare. I don't want to compare it, but in that case, I need to do. Here in the public library, every public library has a lot of comic books, and it's more easy to. The people don't need to spend money, have the opportunity to read. And when I explain this in Spain, some people tell me, "Hey, is the people read the comics in the public library? They don't buy comics." And say, "No, you read something, and if you really like you, at last you go to the bookshop and buy this comic, because if you really like, you want to have." But the beginning, sometimes you don't know if you like or not. You go to a public library, sit down, read, and if you really like, sometimes you only have maybe 15 minutes. You read the first 20, 30 page, and if you really like, you decide to go to the bookshop and you buy this comic, because if you really like, I say, I want to know how this comic book finish. I don't believe that the library is a barrel between the comic book industry and the normal people. No, I think that the public library is in some way it's the first step to know, because you have many different options, and you don't need to think how much costs this. No, you have normal comics, very expensive comics, artist edition, thing like that, and you have the choice to open and say, what is this? But I know many people here in Finland that the beginning, they go to the public library, see what is the new, and at last he go to some specific place and they buy these comics. I think I told you during our first meeting that the only request that I received from the Finnish Comic Society about this event, this specific event about Spain inside the Helsinki Comic Festival, was to offer people like you that create stories about the real world. And in my case, I try to do the homework. I begin to see in the different editorial. I found your job. I have some reference about your job before that, but I know that Norma Editorial was the editorial, the Spanish editorial that published your comic. I talked with the person in charge of press, and she talked with your editor. Before that, she explained me a lot of things about your job, because she know you and she read every of your comic book, and she explained me that you are the right person to do this, because I like comic books. For me, it's the same to read Superman or Un Trabajo de Verdad, because I like the idea was to draw things in a paper and you read the image and the letters. But I told you before we began, these comic books are in some way some psychoanalysis. You show the reality without any flowers to explain. You show exactly what happened. For example, in a real job, you show the things that every person that moved to another country feel, because you arrive in a different country. You arrive in Germany. I arrive in Finland. I know English, no much, not like now. My English in that moment was horrible if you compare with now, because I don't speak English normally in Spain. You don't have the opportunity. A different place with a different language, different, everything is different. And you show exactly like in many ways like I feel. The only thing is I find not much better, because my first year was in the university, I think like you in Germany. You explained me that, but my first home here in Finland, in Helsinki, I don't spend time, because in that moment my girlfriend, now my wife, she found before me when I arrived. But when I arrived, I remember the first day I go to the supermarket. Everything was new. The place, the people, the everything was new. And you show exactly how these things work. How much time you spend to create a real job?
Well, just a small note of why this happens. I think it's because when I write these things, I mean, these stories is in a way it's it's for me. I mean, I am not thinking I'm doing this book for somebody else. So I even don't think somebody's gonna read it, because while I am writing them, I'm not sure if the story is gonna be good, and if I'm gonna show that to the publisher or to my wife or somebody else. So at the beginning, it's just for me. And there are two things important. The first one is that I feel that it's how the story comes out, how I felt that moment. It doesn't mean it has to be real, because in a lot of times, maybe in the last book, it's everything more real situations. But in the a real job, in the first one, there wasn't real situation always, but the emotions or the feelings I wanted to express, they were real. So for me, it has to be very honest in this way.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is that I don't like that the story it's like very very dramatic and very like just a critic about something. I want the stories has to be also a bit funny and ironic, and I write it in a way that I would like to read it. So that's very important to me. And how much time I spent doing the first book, it was strange, because I started because I left a real job I had in a game company, and I realized that while I was doing this job, I was leaving behind my dream. I mean, it's a bit romantic to say it in this way, but it was really that. I mean, I had a really good job in this company, and it was hard to leave it, because it was secure and with a very well paid. But then I decided to leave it, to do the first book, and with all the money I got for the job, I decided to buy a year of my time. So in that year, I would go to the cafes and to the bibliothèque and bibliothèque. Do you say
Libraries?
The biblioteca?
No, in English is library.
Yeah, library, yes. Sure. And to the library, to the cafes, and write and draw the comic there. So it took me at the end 1 year and a half, more or less, and yeah, that was it.
You have I think the same approach that Frank Capra when he write a screenplay, because I really like Capra, but I really like It's a Wonderful Time. It's one of my favorite movies. I'm sorry, I am probably romantic and naive. I told about this with Tim Sale when he's playing, when he drew the fourth season. He saw, I don't know, 10 times this movie before he began to draw the Clark Kent story in Smallville. And in some way, I have the same feeling. You try to show the real world, but with some, you are in some way optimist. You believe that it's possible to do things. It's possible to cap your dreams. It's possible to do the things even in the worst case scenario. And because I read in approximately in the last 20 hours, the two books, I have exactly this feeling, the same feeling when every time I sit down to see It's a Wonderful World. That at last you believe that it's possible to. And for example, the last, I told you, the last 5 pages of Pijama Portatil Galletas, when you stay with your kid inside a cafe, when you sit down with your book and he sit down with his book, and after 10 seconds he began to play, and at last you sit down in the floor with him and begin to play with him exactly like me. I believe this is exactly like a one far feel when in this situation. So, when you begin to find link between your boy, when you understand, for example, I think in your case and in my case, that my boy really like books. He has 2 shelves with his books, and he really like to sit down with me in the sofa or in the floor during 30-40 minutes to see books with me. It's exactly the same thing I really like. Is when you are really happy. You don't need anything more around you, because this is something you never imagine you have the opportunity to share with someone. And you show exactly, you show in 5 pages between the page 156 to 161. And it's not my memory, because I told him about this page 20 minutes before the beginning. And you don't need to do anything more. And I really like, the other things I really like is your technique. You don't, it's great because it's possible to find a lot of the detail in your page, but it's quite easy to read. I don't know how much time you spend, for example, to draw one page, but there are comic books that are really nice, but sometimes are difficult to read because the color, the design, everything is sometimes too much. And when I take any of these books, it's a totally different. You begin to read and you forget your reality, and you have the capacity to take the person that is in front of your book and say, come with me, sit down near to me, and begin to see. And this is something, this is not easy, especially now, because the people don't have enough time to do anything. Everyone try to do 20 things in the same moment. Sorry, this is impossible, even for a superhero. And no, and it's true, you combine good memories with not so, and you also, I told you, you are so critic with yourself. No, it's true.
Yeah.
I have this page when you explain that you wake up at 5:30 like me to work in a new book, and you put this apple, this clock to cook apple, orange, or any machine you put with during 30-45 minutes. And when you say you put this machine near to your computer, and after 30 minutes, when the machine began to ring, You go to your bed and you are happy and say, no, you need to, in the next page, you say, no, 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 I know I need to sit down and continue to work. But for that reason, I told you these stories are in some way some kind of psychoanalysis, a graphic psychoanalysis. But it's really nice. I suppose when you begin to think about any of your job, you spend too much time thinking about, you spend too much time find information or write everything in 1,000 page, or you begin to draw today one thing, tomorrow another page, tomorrow another, and the last is 161 page. How is your method in some way?
Okay, I would like to say something about the thing you said before with the style, and that because I thank you, because this is very important to me. And during a lot of years at the beginning, I remember trying to do a very nice style, trying to have a very detailed style, because I wanted to be a comic, the person who draws the comic, not the person who writes them. I didn't have any interest in writing. But then when I discovered that I enjoyed writing them, then something happened with the style, that with the drawing style, that I liked that the drawings and the words were in the same level. So because, like you said, as a reader, I found some works, some comics I liked, that I could look at them and I found them very nice, but I didn't like to read them because the drawings were too detailed and with so many things that your eyes were like.
You try to focus in some place that is impossible. In some way, you need to put in perspective, but at the last say, no, it's so tired. Try to focus my energy in every panel, because after 4 or 5 panels, I am so tired. I need to rest. And
yeah, exactly. And the most important thing is that I felt out of the story because of that. And for me, the magic of the comics, the language of the comics, is that you go into this world without knowing it. So you are immersed in that, but you are not, you don't know it. And I discovered that with, for example, Bastien Vives or with GP in Italy, that they are two authors that I like very much. And they saw how with 2 or 3 strokes, do you say, with
yes.
From the drawing, you can feel something. You feel more than when you have a very detailed or very well constructed drawing.
Sometimes only with a few lines. There are authors that the capacity only draw a few lines in one panel, and these few lines are more seductive than the art person that spend, I don't know, a lot of time try to draw. No, sometimes it's, I think you need to find, and it's true that when you find the balance, normally I made, because my job is to write, and for me it's not easy, but it's more easy than for many people, because the last I know how to fight against the war. I know how to find some understanding between my mind and the words when I sit down. But I think it's so important for a comic book or graphic novel or whatever you want to find this balance between the words and the draw, because you feel that something is not right and moving in the wrong.
I mean, I really enjoy seeing very good drawings, but I prefer to see them on illustration or in a comic, but I'm not gonna read it. I'm gonna look at them, and that's fine. So that's why, for example, I spend more time writing the story and understanding how to tell it with images than on the final drawing. So for me, for example, it's very important the rhythm of how you read it, I mean, from one page to the next one, than the small drawings. So I spend more time on that, on looking at the emotion you get when you read and see the image. It's the right one and not the final drawing. So maybe, I don't know, for one page, I need maybe one day, maybe with colors a bit longer, but if not, one day. The thing is that I don't work always like one page after another. I'm sometimes do for maybe 10 pages, only the characters, and then only the backgrounds. So that's why I don't know exactly how long I need for every page. But yeah, I would say one day.
In your case, it's like the tempo in music. You need to understand it. You need to keep the right tempo. It's not in one moment you don't like the thing you heard, and this is quite important. Because you told before now the if you talk with some editor, it's always the same. The situation of the market is horrible, but I heard the same sentence from the last 25 years, and if you go to some library in Spain, it's possible to find comics. That's the thing. If you attend one meeting with five editor, probably you believe that the next day you don't find any comic in any place. But unfortunately, the situation is not that. But in a place like Spain, actually, even in a place like Finland, I don't know the situation in Germany, but in a place like Finland or in Spain, do you believe that your job is? I believe, in my personal opinion, for someone, for example, someone that moved here without any reference, without any knowledge of the language, and without any other things, read a real job is some kind of guide. What to do when you move to your country to another country. For someone that want to do the things he really like, but they don't know how to do, Pijama Portatil Galletas is exactly another guy. Do you believe that the comic book have the capacity to not change but help to the people inside the society?
Yeah, of course. I mean, for me, the comics are not a genre,
Yes.
but it's more a language. So
Yes.
for me, it's like the language of movies, the language of books. They are different languages, and every language has his own capacities, the good things and the bad things. And I think the comics are very good for several reasons. For example, they are very simple to understand normally because you have the pictures as well. And the other thing is that means that somebody who doesn't speak a language can read maybe a comic in another language because there are less words.
He have the capacity to understand
translate and understand exactly, and that's like the real world. When you learn a new language, you understand also because of the gestures of the people, right? So it's similar with the images, I guess. And the other thing is that the good thing about comics is also that you have you feel them with your imagination. It's a bit like, when you read a book and then watch the movie, sometimes the thing that makes better sometimes the book is that you, in your imagination, if the author says, and then a very big guy, like like a huge car came from the street, on your mind, maybe you imagine some person you fear, which is very big, and maybe you saw once. In the movie, it's another image from director, right? So with the comics, happens the same thing. That, I mean, not the same thing because you have the image, but you have to fill the gaps between the panels.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to also imagine what happens between one panel and another, because the I don't know exactly how to explain it, but the time goes on and you don't see everything that happens. You see only the main key moments on there, right? And in a book or in a movie, maybe you see more. So that's why in that way, I like more the language of the comics.
You need
Of
to
course.
use your imagination. I think one thing I really like the comic book idea is it's like this older machine. You put some image and the machine began to move, and you see how they move, but it's exactly not. It's not realistic. It's some kind of illusion. But when the comic book, you need to write in between the lines. In that case, you need you need to draw between the lines, because you see the one situation, and in the next panel, in one panel you see the guy in front of the door, and the next panel this guy's inside the home, but you don't see that if anyone open or not the door, and you need to imagine if they use a key or someone open or the door is open or something like that. And I think this is for that reason, I think it's a really, really good language or support or yearn, whatever you want to name it to, because you need to use your imagination. And even you have the capacity to put things inside in your mind. You see something and you say, this guy drew this car, but I want to imagine another car. There are people that even have this imagination. And I think this is really good.
Yeah, one small thing, for example, it happens the same with the thing we were talking about with if you have a very detailed drawing and a very iconic drawing, you have to fill with your imagination the iconic drawing. So that's why, for example, with WhatsApp and all these ways of communicating, people can use these emojis, these faces, that is just 2 points, 1 line, and you can feel the emotion. Why? Because you feel with your imagination the emotion. If you put a photo of somebody, it's not the same thing.
No, but you see exactly what happens. You use some avatar or something like that is when you need to use this. Nevertheless, in your case, even when you use a splash page, one illustration from all the page, you don't need to. Not it's possible to imagine much more thing that you draw, but you are very clear. You are very honest, and you are very clear. You don't want to find. You don't use a strange word, and you don't use a strange draw to show what happened. And this is, I admit I don't have enough background, because I live normally permanently here in Finland. And when I return, not the last year, but normally when I return to Spain to work, I try to work. It's necessary, I don't know, 19 hours per day, because I want to do a lot of things, because I know that in a few days I need to return to Finland, and I don't have the opportunity but I don't have the opportunity to see everything. But there are, because before contact with you, that case contact with Norma, I read, I think, every catalog of every editorial in Spain. There are not too many examples like your job, actually, in the Spanish market. I don't know in other market, but job like you, in that case, your job that you explain things in the right and easy way, and in that honest form, there are not too many people. No, there are not too many examples. Probably you know much better than me. Well, you live not in Spain too, but you have more connection with the market because you were inside an editorial, but I remember to read all the catalog for Norma from another, I don't know, 10 or 12 editorial. And they are only a small example. Do you believe that the market only accept a few examples like your job, or is because the people have the same thought that you told me? I do this for me, and I do not believe that anyone really like to publish my job.
I don't understand. Do you mean?
The thing is that I don't find many examples of your job in the Spanish market actually.
Do you mean the kind of stories?
Exactly, this kind of story when someone explain what happened when they move another country or wherever. And my question is, do you believe it's because the market only have enough space to a few examples because the people prefer to read our topics, or because there are many people that really like to show things like yours, but they believe, just playing in the beginning, I did this for me, I write and draw for me, and I never believe that any publisher have interest in translate this to a real book and put in the market?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it could be because in the last, I don't know, maybe it's something new, because in before, comics used to be more for kids, and after that they would be more adventures or science fiction, this kind of things. So maybe it's just I always thought it was just the taste of the people. Maybe they were more another kinds of comics, just because people prefer to read about adventures or science fiction and other kind of things. And for me, when I'm working, I'm not thinking about that. I mean, I'm thinking about I would like to do a book that I would buy, that I would like to read, and that it has to be honest with the things I feel. And you don't really need to make it autobiographical or this kind of things. It's more the honest thing. It has to be on the emotions, and then you can do it autobiographical, or you can imagine and invent a story with the fictional characters and everything. For me, for example, I like to work with autobiography because it's easier to me. And you know, this thing that you maybe live something and then you imagine how you can tell it on a story, and you can make it funnier, or you can just take a piece of that moment and a piece of another moment and put it together and create like a parallel reality, which is the thing that actually happens on my books. I mean, if somebody who really knows me read the comic, they see a lot of things. They see it's me, of course, and they remember some of that moments, but they didn't really happen in that way. Maybe the order was different, or maybe I took two events in one event, and that's because you need to create illusion, like you said before. You have to create illusion on a story that happens in a way that it's not gonna be boring for the reader. Because if I tell all the details or the things I do every day, it's gonna be boring for the reader. So the main thing is that they don't have to be boring. They don't have to be bored. They have to read it and like it to continue reading the book.
I asked precisely.
So I'm not sure if I answered your question.
It's the answer is good. I want to ask the people around you after 4 books, when you, I suppose the people around you read your job in one way or what opinion have about your job? Because, for example, for me, I try to not only understand in my case, when I read your books, I try to remember what happened with me. I try to put in the same situation and try to remember what happened when I write, for example, in Finland, or with when my boy arrived, or the problem I have inside home with different things, something like that. But not everyone do the things in the same way. When you show your job, the people around you like, don't like, disagree, don't disagree, look at you and say, you are crazy to write and to draw this, or the people around you are very happy with your job?
Well, we don't speak much about that. I mean, it's funny, but I have like two lives, right? The life here in Berlin with my friends here, and they are friends that it doesn't have anything to do with comics. And the life that when I go mainly to Italy and to Spain, when I meet with the friends from the comic world, like to say. So when I go to the festivals and or to make a tour for for the book when it's out and these kind of things, and so in my normal life, my friends, they read the comics and maybe they say, yeah, that was funny, that no, they like it, but we don't speak too much about that, it's strange. And then but I like it, it's fine, because it's like my thing, and when I go to Italy or to Spain with the other part of my friendship, then we speak a lot about the things, and you share opinions on your work, and maybe, for example, when you are on the publisher's stand on the comic festival, you speak a lot with the friends, or when you go to dinner after that, and that these are really, really nice moments, because you also learn a lot from the others, and they say their opinion about your work. And then after that moments, you always go home with a lot of energy and a lot of
feedback. And
yeah.
Well,
But in the normal life, we don't speak.
Yes, I have in some way exactly. When I finish a book or something, people around me, there are people that don't read comics or don't spend time to read the crazy things I write, and some person do, but normally no, and don't speak. When I attend a comic festival or something like that, when you go to an stand to sign on after the comic festival finish, and you go to eat something, is when you sit down with someone, and it's when you begin to talk, and someone say, oh, I read your last book and I like this, but I disagree with that. And someone say, no, but I don't like this part, or I like, and it's when you really enjoy, because it's when the first thing is you understand that someone spent time to read your that case, read your book. And the second part is when you understand that you do something well, because if someone agree or disagree, is because they spend time and they have their own opinion about your job. Normally in the real world, only a few people, especially in areas like our area, normally don't speak too much, because it's for you and for me, this is a real job, but from the normal guys, sometimes it's a very difficult job to understand if you compare with the standard of the society. Even you live in Germany, I live in Finland. Here, I don't know in your case, but in my case, when someone say, "What do you do normally?" Well, I do this, that, and I write theoretical books about comics, and say, "Oh, this sounds good." When I say exactly the same in my language in Spain, normally I need to spend 20 minutes explaining how is this here in Finland from the last almost 2 decades. Anyone understand that someone sit down and try to explain the history of some comic book character or some editorial or something? They understand that it's possible to write a book about this or about everything. But in Spain, no. In Spain, to write a book about one comic character, people look at you and say something, this is a real job? And you say, yes, and I spent 4 years. Why? sorry, this character have 1,000 issues and you need to read and you need to understand a few things. But the people, no. For the reason why, the thing is, in some way, it's an excuse too, because in Spain, and sorry if there are someone from Spain that is seeing this meeting, in Spain, even today, there are real jobs and the other jobs. And you and me are in the other part. Even if you work with a big company with a wonderful salary and whatever, but if you do something, this is not a real job. Because our schedule are different, our approach are different, and at last, when you finish, our job is different. And I don't understand why someone is not capable to see that to finish something like that, you need to spend a lot of hours, sit down in your table, a lot of hours in front of the computer, and it's something you say in the two books. You have regular, bad, and horrible days, but normally you don't have good days. Good days is a wow. When you, I think was in that when that day you sit down and begin to write and you find the right idea and you spend almost much more than 15 minutes. This is quite rare, but the people really don't understand. And you show, and I in some way use the excuse, the name of your first book, because that is the thing, and it's exactly the thing. I decide to keep my job. I decide not to buy the wonderful home. I decide not to do things because I want to catch my dreams. And you know that I think for that reason there are 3 million of people like you and me outside Spain. If you compare with 20 years ago. I don't know how do you feel about this, but my approach is, hey, at last you move not because you don't like country. You don't. In my case, I don't like how the people look at you. The approach of things that for you and for me, I believe are important. For me, my job is important. If you don't understand, well, but don't say this is not a real job. For that reason, my first question was, now the people believe that you have a real job, because in the first book is always the same. And I believe, I don't know you, but I remember hard times when I try to explain to the people what I trying to do, and the people don't understand anything.
Yeah, but I don't know. Well, I think during the first years, I used to think a lot about that, and it didn't feel very comfortable, very nice. But I think with the how do you say, con el paso del tiempo, with the,
yes, after many years.
Yeah, after many years, I don't spend so much time thinking on it. I don't know. I got used to. I got used to it. I got used to the fact that it's something, which is not very normal, maybe, and you just do it, and maybe when the book comes out, it feels normal for a while, right? So
You forget normally all the problem you have in the street.
Yeah, it's also true that in the last 10 years it changed a lot. I mean, a lot of people felt that way with another kind of jobs. They wanted to do something else, and there are things which are maybe harder to understand, like, I don't know, people who make his job is YouTuber or a blogger, right? And during the last, I don't know, few years, it became something real for a lot of people. So I think it was also a phase. I mean, when I moved out of Spain, it was harder in that way, and now there is more people who makes his own things, and also very strange things. Not very strange, but very things that you wouldn't think that they are real for a job, and they are. I mean, you see, and like influencers, for example, right? This kind of thing. So maybe now it's easier to get it, to understand it. But yeah, I don't expect so much.
No, me neither. But I remember.
But I understand what you mean. It's
15 years ago, I spent too much time explaining why I really, for example, write book about this or organize exhibition about sci-fi movies or things like that. Now everyone loves these kind of things, but we live in some way in a different world, because Germany and Finland are in many ways totally opposite at the Spanish mentality, and at last you forget, you switch off the clip and continue your life. And if you understand, good. If you don't understand, sorry, I don't have time to waste to explain why I do this, because it's impossible. If there's someone, because here in Finland there are a lot of good comic book artists, and they began to work very early, because self-publishing in Finland is easy and it's cheaper if you compare. I don't know in Germany, but in Spain, actually it's more cheaper than maybe 5 years ago, but nevertheless it's more expensive. If someone is seeing this meeting, for example, a normal job have a English version, and it's possible. I bought through some web page to read in English and to see the edition. If someone know your job, or someone after all this period of time have I don't know, 10 notebooks with a lot of ideas, some draw, something right. What do you say to someone want to draw or create something like a real job or Pijama Portatil Galletas?
And do you mean somebody who would like to do something like that?
Something similar. Someone have a lot of ideas in the shell, but they don't. This person have no idea how to translate all these ideas to a piece of paper, or in that case to the computer, and at last will be a book.
Well, for me, for example, I now see how I spend too much time thinking about how to do things. And that was a problem, because when you say, okay, I don't know how to do it, I'm not good enough to do the drawings or to write the story, you start like making walls to yourself, right? And you don't go on. And I think the most important thing is just to do it. For example, for me, it really worked after so many years trying it. When I decide that I would write the book for myself, so I didn't have the pressure that somebody else would read it. Even if you, after that, of course, you show it to somebody, but at least you can decide after. You don't have to decide at the beginning. Another thing was that I said, okay, I don't think I have. For example, with a real job, with the first book, I wanted to change my drawing style. That was the first time I draw in this way we were talking about before. Before that, I would draw in a very detailed way. So I said, okay, I don't know which is my style now, but I would find it without trying it. That means that when you draw and draw and draw or write without thinking about the style, it's gonna come out your style, because it's your way of thinking, your way of doing things. But you need practice for that. So I remember that the thing really worked was, okay, I'm gonna start drawing. I wrote the story before, and then I said, I'm gonna start drawing the pages one after another. With the first book I did in that way. And I were convinced that that the first maybe 10 pages I wouldn't use them at the end. That means that I did the whole book, and when I arrived to the end, I saw how the style changed, because after 3, 7, 9 pages, you start to get comfortable with the style you are making. So what I thought, what I did was that when I finished the book, I start from the beginning again, and I did the first, I don't remember, maybe there were 20 pages or something like that, that were really, really different from the rest of the book. And that took me the pressure off, because I knew that it's something I didn't like, I could just do it again. And the thing is that if somebody would say me that I would trash 20 pages, I would think, wow, that's crazy. I never do that, because it's a lot of time I spend doing these pages. But the thing is that when you finish the book, you have so much energy, because you felt good that you finished it after 1 year, maybe, that doing 20 pages was nothing to me in that moment. I did it like really, really fast. Also because I knew what happened in every page. So the thing I would say to the people is just to do it without thinking too much about that. Just go from the beginning to the end in the way you want to work. For me, is first writing the story and then drawing the pages, but you can do it in the same time if you want. So going until the end, and then read everything and be very critical with your work. Not before, after. So you say, okay, if I would be the reader, honestly, what I like about the story, what I don't like, how could I change things to make it better? And that it's very important, because while you are working to go to the end, it's very hard if you go to the beginning again and read, because you are going to see maybe you don't like it, and then you are going to be lost. So yeah, the best advice, I guess, is go to the end and then read it, be critical, and change the things you don't like. And it's going to be much easier to change something you have than to prepare for something you don't have.
Yes, it's I totally agree. It's something the same when you write something. You need to write something. You need to not 100 page, but it's good to write 20, 30, 40, and after that, stop and read again. But if in every page you spend 3 days, you only write 10 pages because you don't. So you just spend 1 month to write 10 pages. This is impossible. You need to have something to. You need to something to put in front of you, and I use this, especially I use this technique when I organize exhibition. Normally I like to see the space and try to, especially in the cabinet with the wall is different, but the cabinet sometimes I put all the things I want inside the cabinet, left the place, and the next day when I arrive is when I begin to do some change. But you need to do the first step, is put the things in the cabinet. You really, this is good in that cabinet, put. Maybe the next day is not the right place because the light is not good or whatever, but you need to begin to do with something. If you put the things near to the cabinet but don't do anything, you don't have any approach. When you return, you see exactly the same. The cabinet empty and the things near to the cabinet, but not inside the cabinet. And it's exactly you say, you need to work with something. And I think this is a really good advice, because I met with people with a lot of ideas, draw very well, but they only have the notebook with the ideas and the sketch and some page, but they don't have 10 page, 20 page to And without this, you only have the idea, but you need to open the door. And even if when you finish, you don't like, but you do something and you say another thing is practice. The first time, unfortunately, normally everything look horrible. The second time is not so horrible. And after 10 times, when you know how to use the tool, you know the technique, and everything is much more easy. And I think
Yeah.
this is
For example, I learned that because I spent 7 years doing the first pages for a comic proposal to show editors in festivals, and they wouldn't take the comic. So I would start with another story and propose that, and nothing happens. So I felt that the thing it really helped was when I said, okay, I bought a year of my life to do the whole comic. And you don't have to do that. I mean, you can work in something while you have another work job. That's fine. It's gonna take longer, but it's fine. And I think you learn more of doing something until the end than a lot of small projects that you don't finish. Especially because starting a new project is very, you have the energy, you like it, and it's very nice. And after a while, when the energy goes low, and if you leave it, you're gonna leave it forever, probably.
yes.
And if you continue, even if it's hard, it's gonna come again. This energy is like everything, like sports, like everything. So you don't have to fall in the trap of starting a new thing, a new shiny project.
Every
Now that
six
it's
months.
hard with the,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. This is true because in every process you have up and down, up and down, up
Yeah,
and down. You
exactly.
need to understand that someday in you say you have sometimes the capacity to draw 10 pages in nothing, and I sometimes I have the same capacity to write I don't know 5-10 pages in one day. Normally it's not the same, but and the next day you put in front of the computer, you read something and you decide no, today is not no, because you don't know how to, you don't have any idea in your mind, and you need to understand that. But you need to understand that the next day you need to switch on the computer and continue to work, because probably you don't write 10 pages but you write 3, and the next day 4, and the next day 2, and the next day 1, and at the last after 6 months you have 300 pages. And it's exactly the example you put with a comic book. The normally I use the last. I think you answered my question, but if you want to put anything more in your answer, normally I ask to the author to be the salesman, these people that try to sell things. In that case, your job. If you stay, imagine that this is not a virtual meeting, it's something physical. You stay in front of, I don't know, uh, 50, 60 people here in Helsinki. And you have your books in front of you. How you sell your book to someone?
That's very hard. It's
I know.
I
I
mean,
always say this. Normally, I need to think in that way because I am the guy
yeah,
that normally try to sell. But it's good to know. It's good to change
yeah.
the topic and say, what do you think about this?
Well, I guess I don't know. I guess in every book is different, of course. So, for example, in the last book, I would say, well, this is um, maybe the theme or the story of the book is, or the book speaks about responsibility
Mm-hmm.
and following something you want to do, like your dream, or it's a bit romantic, but like following the thing you would like to do, and how it affects you when you have when you are in the moment of your life that you have to be there for somebody else, which is important, more important than you. In that case, when you become a father, it could be because you have somebody in your family is ill and you have to take care of them. In my case, it was because I became a father. So the book speaks about that balance, how you the things you think are going to be a problem for your dreams, actually maybe they are the answer that you didn't have before. So for example, with another books it's different. Maybe with a real job, the first book would be how to so the theme of the comic is maybe following the things. The theme is always similar because it's something I really care of. But yeah, how to follow your dreams, even if you are in a new situation, like moving to another country, and how that could help you to understand yourself and to follow the things you want to do. So yeah, maybe that could be the things.
With the Pijama Portatil Galletas, I think this is more easy to sell here because I told the first time we meet, we talked about this. The paternity leave here is something that the society, I know because I have a 2-year-old boy. In a month and a half, if everything will be okay, I have the second round. And if everything is like with my first son, next summer, I will take my second paternity leave. And this is, I know the situation fortunately changed a lot in Spain. There are more men that now take the paternity leave and they really enjoy. But you told me that in Germany it's quite common, and here in Finland, I believe that every person I know that have kids with the same sex like me, all take the paternity leave. It's something quite normal, and it's something that even the society, I always say, I have this feeling that the society in Finland, when you are a father and you go out, the society smiles to you because you see the people are very happy when you see with your boy in the tram and walking around. And with this case is you have, it's more easy to sell because people here really like to see another example of paternity leave. And with a real job, I think it's how to move to another country, how to follow your dreams, how to survive, and how to be honest when you do this step. I think this is because it's something I really enjoy of your job. You are really honest and you put in front of the people, hey, I do this, now I survive, but I have all these small things during the trip. Some things are nicer, some things are not, especially when you don't use Word, when you only use one panel without any word. These panels are more strong, no, but maybe more dramatic than they are because it's when you don't need to put anything, you don't need to write anything. The draw is enough to understand. But the two books are the really good example that the comic book have the capacity to show the reality of the work. And even I believe your job have the capacity to change a few things or even help to other people that have the same feeling like you and really believe that it's possible not to lose their dreams because they are parents or something like that. You need to spend more time, you need to be more serious, or you need to be more organizing or whatever. But at the last, it's possible to spend Saturday in a coffee shop with your kids reading together. And it's when I believe you understand that it's possible to be a father and it's possible to be a writer and it's possible to do or to be a comic book artist, and you don't lose anything. You win much more things than you believe you lose in the trip. And
Yeah,
that's
I really agree with that you said. Yeah. This this thing that we are able to spend more time with our kids as fathers. In my case, it really helped me for my work because like you said, you learn a lot just looking to them. You learn a lot about yourself as
yes.
well, and that goes directly to your work.
When my boys sit down near to this table, very near to play, they don't say anything. Time to time they look at me, smile, say something, and continue. And it's when I understand that I don't lose anything in the trial. I am a very happy father with a, I suppose like every father, with a wonderful boy. Some time to time he want to stay with me, but many times they only want to stay near to me. He understand that they need to do something. He called the computer the boring book. It's a really nice define from the computer. He said, "Papi's sitting down in front of the computer of the boring book," but he don't do anything. He sit down, play. Sometimes he show me something, but it's when I really understand that it's you don't lose anything. You learn and you win a lot of things, but you don't. And if you lose something after these 2 years, because my boy is 2 years old, I believe I don't lose anything. It's good to lose this because it's not necessary. It's when you say in one book, when you when you move, you don't lose. You throw out things that are not important. You have in your home, but are not really important.
Yeah,
You
yeah, I
you
agree.
take only the important thing. And the last important thing is not to have more books or more toys or more whatever. It's important to spend time with your kid. I think this is a very important thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I agree.
for the reason I really enjoy, and I am in my case, normally I don't not, but I am very happy I'm very happy that the press director of Norma, Josefina Olaya, told me about you. I am very happy that your editor worked very fast because I contact with him I think in 2 days I received the first message from you. And I am very happy to invite you. And I hope that people really enjoy this and the people have the time to learn your job, even they are in Spanish or in Italian. But I told you before that there are many people here in Finland that now study and learn Spanish. I mean, it's not in English because our real job is in English, but if they want to read Pijama Portatil and Galletas in Spanish, I hope that many people spend time, order this book and sit down and read because it's a really good experience, especially in a country like have one mentality, I think, similar that you are a mentality when we approach to some things that, for example, in our country are totally different way. I understand you like normal life and not like in Spain, everything is difficult, complicated. No, you live in a country and I live in a country donde you have time to live. You don't need to spend 2 months to solve something. No, it's easy. And this is good because at last we have time to do the things we like, especially spend time with our kids. Alberto, thank you very much. I hope you enjoy. I hope this small business card to present your job in Finland help to promote your job here. And I hope you do more jobs like this because I really enjoy. And there are only one book I don't read. I hope I have the opportunity to read in the near future. And if you want to say something, please feel free. It's your moment.
No, it's just thank you really for inviting me. It was very nice. I really enjoyed this conversation, and yeah, thank you for this presentation.
Yes. And I hope the people, the people that attend this Helsinki Comic Festival through virtual choice, because this actually is the only way to do this kind of things. Enjoy and understand that in Spain there are more things that sun and beach and things like this. There are many talented people that try to do different things and really good things and show. And the good things is now in this 21st century is the same. You live in one country or another. The topic are exactly the same. The feeling are exactly the same. And at last, we want to do the same thing that everyone. And your job is the best example of that. Please stay safe. And we will see in the next meeting in this Helsinki Comic Festival, an event in which Spain is the guest country. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. Thank you.